Stop me if you heard this before. The road to the Super Bowl goes through Kansas City. And yes, once again, it definitely does. The Bengals have secured their tickets. They're on their way. We are back in the same spot we were a year ago. The rematch, the showdown, everything that's happened since then. We're going to talk about it tonight. As we have it locked in, there's 4 teams left that are going for that prize, Dan. Does it surprise you at all that it's the Bengals and that they are coming to town?
No, it doesn't. I expected them to beat the Bills. If you look at the Bills over the last couple of months, they haven't looked the same. I really think that them not letting Josh Allen rest his injury has made everything worse. Not only is he not as accurate as he was, the offense is predicated on Stephon Diggs getting open and deep shots down the field. And they don't run the ball. This is like what the Chiefs couldn't. This is what the Chiefs were doing a couple years ago. Shots down the field, no run game. They were unable to move the ball against teams that actually kind of try on defense, and the Bengals have a really nice defense. So, yeah, it was tough to watch the Bills just not show up. But again, the Bengals right now, they're on a mission, and it's very apparent that they're on a mission. The way that they're treating it, the way they're playing, this is not going to be any easy for the Chiefs at all.
No, I think it's going to be a great matchup because that's what I personally want. Chiefs are on a mission as well, and they have been since they lost to this team in this situation last season. And I feel like it's kind of sweet poetry to get the matchup again, at home again, having lost again in the meantime, to put it all back together. And I like the fact that both teams seem to be focused on it. Would I have rather played the Bills? For every reason that you just said, yes. But this is a team that I think can be respected and will bring out the best in this Chiefs team. And I think they've been holding enough back to have enough wrinkles to really thwart the offensive side. It's about the defense for me. And tonight, folks, we're not going to, we'll take a couple of questions, but we're not going to do the whole Q&A. That'll be tomorrow night at 6. For all you subs, make sure you like this one as well and get there. I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes here this week on the member side. So be on the lookout for that. But that's really what tonight is about. It's just reacting to the fact that it is the Bengals and what should we be concerned about? I do feel there's been growth since the last Bengals game. Mm-hmm. And I do think that they're aware of some of their weaknesses. I just really need to see the fact that they're able to adapt not only to what they saw in week 10, but what they see during the game. For me, it's about the second quarter making an adjustment, not waiting to the half, being able to accommodate to the way that the Bengals offense is working.
And when you look at what they're doing a lot of the same the Chiefs are doing. It's a lot of quick games, getting the ball out quick and running the ball. They're really, really effective running the football right now, and the Bills couldn't stop it. They couldn't really do anything at all. This looked a lot like what the Bengals did to the Chiefs earlier this year. Like, it looked like they just continued to move the football at will, and the Bills had no answer for it. So you have to be able to make some adjustments and tackle in this football game. Again, Chiefs couldn't tackle in week 10. Bills couldn't tackle in this game. Like, it was very reminiscent of what the Bengals did to the Chiefs earlier. And you have to come playing not just your best football. This has to be the best schemed plan from Steve Spagnuolo. I don't think you're going to confuse anything Joe Burrow. I don't think you're going to confuse him at all. You might be able to if you throw some stuff at him, but he's really good at coming out and checking into different formations. He was audibling entire formations against the Bills today. So I don't know if they're going to really confuse him a ton, but you have to be able to get some quick pressure and force that ball to just that half second before even Burrow wants to get rid of it. They got to find a way to do it.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is adapting to what they're good at and what they've shown you in the past. I'm having a little bit of breakup here, so I am going to throw Mr. Gooch is back, and appreciate the shout out and the help there, Gooch.
Appreciate you, man.
Dan, address this while I try to fix this issue here.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the support. The Bengals slowly took the Bills' souls, and McDermott was out-coached in a game where running the ball should have been paramount. He and Allen were stubborn. Yeah. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound a little familiar? You go back to the AFC Championship game last year, and the Chiefs were able to run the ball effectively, and they refused to do so. Probably could have won them the AFC Championship game last year if they would have actually done it a little bit more. And it's funny that the Bills fell victim to the same exact thing in this game. I don't disagree that McDermott was out-coached either. Zach Taylor had a clinic in that game. And that was the best I think I've seen him coach and scheme an offensive game plan for the opponent. And they didn't miss a beat. Like the Bills did not do anything in that game that ever made them think that they were not going to win, like at all. There was never once that they thought they weren't going to win that football game. So it was, again, if you're a Bills fan, that's got to be tough to watch. And there's no more excuses. You can't get, we can't just get past Mahomes. No, you guys just can't win playoff games. They're just not very good schematically. What they do, again, offensively, they don't do enough, not just running the football. They don't have enough good playmakers to get open outside of Stephon Diggs. It's not a very good group outside of him. And he was obviously frustrated with it because he not only was yelling at Josh Allen on the sideline, he left before any of the coaches left, took all of the stuff out of his locker and left, and he is not happy. And I wonder why. Why.
Yeah, they're going to have to reload weapons no matter what. There's no way around that for Buffalo. For the Chiefs facing the Bengals, let's face it, this is a chance for the Chiefs to get right.
Yep.
All the other things aside, getting back to the Super Bowl again, 3 out of 4 years is significant, but it's about beating this team in your house that you haven't been able to pull off before. And Gooch, thank you again. I appreciate you. I'm glad to see that you're back, buddy. It comes down to that. And Chiefs should be excited, in my opinion. I'm pumped because as much as I think X's and O's wise, Bills would have been an easier out. This is what encompasses you, because if you're able to cut that margin, what did they lose last time? 3 points.
Yep.
Time before that, 3 points, right? Like the margins are not blowouts. This team doesn't dominate you. They just have your number in a couple of ways. A couple of people asking good questions. Chiefster, for instance, it was the snow, and that's what impressed me about Chase, to be able to still maintain his ability for separation, for body control when his feet can't plant very well. That impressed me quite a bit from the part that I saw. It's Mixon that I don't think I'm as concerned about, because even if they get him cooking, if they're wasting time running the ball, that plays into the Chiefs' advantage, because I think Spags is willing to give yards to Mixon as long as he can protect, double chase, try to have a second eye on Boyd as well. I'm interested to see if they change it up and they go back to that flash that we saw last week of a 3-man rush where they had more guys out in coverage, try to take away some of those passing lanes. Do you think that that's a good idea, or do you even think he'll go there?
I think you might see a couple early, maybe, but I personally don't think that's a good idea. They don't win quickly enough up front to begin with, unless you're going to run simulated pressures and hope that you can get a guy free on some of those 3-man rushes, which is the only way, in my opinion, to run a 3-man pressure is to run simulation pressures. So bring a bunch of guys up, drop a bunch of guys out, and then hope you get a free rusher off of confusion, especially with what it looks like Jackson Carman being your left tackle. Their center's hurt too. He's nursing some injuries. Their offensive line could get confused. Their best opportunity for that is to run some simulated pressures and hope they can get a free rusher somewhere without actually having to blitz. But other than that, I think giving Joe Burrow time is not a good idea. It's not a good idea.
Des, thank you for this. I'm going to get my blood pressure meds now. I hope that you do. Please be under control. Sacking Burrow is key to winning, and you're absolutely right.
I actually don't agree with this.
Why is that? Because you think he's just so resilient at this point?
It's tackling. They're going to get the ball out quickly, and they're going to still throw the ball pretty short. It's not always just going to be right into add to the sticks. They do a lot of yak damage.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get to some of those short throws quickly, maybe you force some incompletions on head-to-head hits. You get some of those 3rd and long situations, or even 3rd and like medium, and then you can start to work a little bit with the pass rush. I do think that sacking him is, one, going to be very difficult because the ball comes out so quickly, but they have to be able to tackle. If you don't tackle and they continue to sustain drives, you can't keep them off the field, and you can't get to Burrow if they're continuously able to get the ball out quickly and you can't tackle.
Yeah, that will save plays. Let me back that up. Sacking isn't the key. You got to get him off of his spot. And like you said, the ball generally is going to come out fast. This offensive line is beat up. How do you take advantage of where the Bengals are? You stack the A gaps and you let Chris not get doubled. You scheme ways for Chris not to get doubled. You did a great job in a short last week of showing how they can manipulate the offensive line because of offensive line rules so that Chris gets one-on-one. You do that, you get him in the A gap, and now Burrow has to not only maneuver around Chris, who we know can bat passes really well, but he has to be able to hit that timing, because when you're throwing the ball fast, those routes don't have time to develop. You don't have time to get separation. It is a hair's trigger right there. And that is the key to getting your hands on balls and taking them away from Joe Burrow's offense.
Yeah, and again, Chris Jones is going to be the best pass rusher that this offensive line saw, even from this past week against the Bills. Von Miller wasn't playing. Chris Jones is the best pass rusher that they're going to see. And again, with them down, guys, we'll see what ends up happening. Even if you get some good news and Jonah Williams can play, I don't know if he's fully
100%.
ready to go.
Yeah.
I know that their center is going to be hurt. He was having trouble walking off the field at halftime. He's not going to be ready to go. Obviously, everyone's hurting at this time. Patrick's going to be playing in this game on a high ankle sprain. We don't know how well he's going to be feeling.
Right.
It's all man on deck. You got to do what you got to do. And the offensive line worked really well for the Bengals in this game against the Bills. There was no pressure. Joe didn't really feel anything. So they got to get hands on balls. That also might be another key. You might have to settle for deflecting a few passes and hope you get maybe a pick on one of them, because it's so hard to sack this man. Not just because he's really good inside the pocket, but they just get the ball out so fast.
Yeah. I mean, and not to say it again, but hands on balls might be the next shirt, but you guys just can't wear it to church. Okay. We can't go there, but that's the thing. Bat the passes, attack the passing lanes, not necessarily Joe himself. But I do think there will be some opportunity for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
The other big thing is that it's the chunk plays that always break the games open against the Bengals. And so, like you said, it is about tackling, not allowing, even if you do get a 20, 25-yard pass, as long as you don't let that turn into a 45-yard yak, that's the big deal. Limit the explosive plays, and I think you're going to be okay. Because high ankle sprain is a high ankle sprain, and it's a dangerous injury, and it's a significant one that limits mobility. But I have to say, it is also about pain tolerance.
Yeah.
It is not generally a structural issue. Patrick Mahomes' motivation is something I think can limit pain all on its own. We all know what the reality is in the NFL, and you are going to get pharmaceutical help for pain.
Yeah, you are.
So those two factors make me feel like this isn't necessarily a game that they go into without the ability to let Patrick do what he does. Is he going to break 40-yard runs? I don't think so. But if he has to get a first down, even after the injury, you saw that last night, he still has the ability to do that even with the high ankle.
Yeah. I know that I've seen a couple people say this is going to look a lot like an Alex Smith type of play or a game plan. And honestly, I wouldn't be super mad about it, because I think he can elevate that game plan. I think he's better even in the pocket than Alex Smith was. I think he's better calling out things. There's one thing I really want to focus on this week in my film review. In my film review is him setting up protections. I think that was the biggest difference in the second half, why he was still super efficient and super effective from the pocket. And he couldn't move because he was calling out all the proper protections. They were picking it up and giving him time. I want to go through and I want to see exactly, I have to go through the broadcast first, because I won't be able to hear on the All-22. There's no sound. So I'll have to actually watch the broadcast over in the second half and see what plays. But he was incredible at the line of scrimmage and calling out protections and getting everyone lined up properly in this game against the Jags. It's going to be huge against the Bengals, because they're going to blitz. If they don't think Patrick Mahomes can move, they're going to blitz. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, and that's going to give him opportunities he wants.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely down with that. I got to check the stats real quick, because I could have sworn that. Yeah, am I correct there? They scored 10 points in the second half today.
The Bengals.
Yeah,
they had what was it, 24?
It's 17 at the half, I believe. Yep,
something like that. Yeah, 17, 10 and a half.
So again, 27 is the number of points they put up against the Chiefs last time. It does come down to, and as much as we have to talk about stopping the Burrow offense, it does come down to the efficiency and the scoring output of the Chiefs offense as well, just as much.
Yep.
Because I think that you feel like if conditions aren't terrible, and hey, this is the big plus, folks. Everybody can complain about the way everything went down following Damar Hamlin and coin toss and everything. It's in Arrowhead because it belongs in Arrowhead because they're better than them. They always were better than the Bengals in terms of their record. There was never a question. So that lays it all to rest. Playing in Arrowhead means you make the difference, and you make the difference, and I make the difference. And that's what it comes down to, because I don't think the afternoon game in week 10 can ever have the same kind of functional atmosphere that this game will have. That plays into their hands. As long as they don't squander that, I think they're going to be in good shape. I do expect that this is the time that they get off the schneid and wreck this record.
Yeah, it's hard to see Patrick Mahomes losing 4 straight times to anybody. Even 3 straight times is hard to see that. But they have lost. They've all been close games. And at the end of the day, this is going to be not just everyone ready for this game. I think that they expected to play the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. I don't think that they expected the Bills to make it. And I think that this is what they've been planning for since they lost that game. You know, Travis has talked about in his podcast after that game that, you know, they'd see them again. Immediately after they lost that game, they said, no, we know we're going to play them again. And it's, you have to come out business-like, and yet you really need to treat this game like the Bengals have treated everything since they lost this, actually since before the Super Bowl last year. They've been on a mission. They really have. And this year, after they started out 0-2, they have been on an even bigger mission. They've been playing much better than they played last year. Right now they mirror a lot of what the Chiefs do offensively. It's a lot of quick game, run the ball. They take their shots when they get them. It looks very similar. So I'm hoping again that they come prepared and the defense looks fired up and ready, because they did get embarrassed last time. And I'm hoping that's enough motivation to get them to start out strong and hopefully finish that way too.
Bill, thank you for pointing this out. I know Patrick said that it is not as bad as originally thought. I have not seen anything come back on the MRI from today, but I think we would know by now if there were something to be concerned about. I feel good about that.
No.
And again, after watching him in the second half, that was good enough to get through the acute injury with rehab and a week to rest. I do feel pretty confident about that. And so to answer PK's question, and thank you for the support, buddy, as to Gooch and everybody else, are the Bengals our kryptonite, and can Pat do this? I think the Bengals have been their kryptonite.
Yeah.
And I think Pat can do this.
I don't think it's ever been a question.
No, I don't either. And quite frankly, as long as they cannot get dumped on, and I think this plays into a factor. Everybody's kind of upset at Brian Cook for losing his temper and that kind of thing. I want him with an edge right now, because he's the guy who can be the X factor if they have to come down on Boyd, if they have to double over the top, if they have to play 6 to take away Chase. He's got to play a bigger role, because you can't go linebacker out there. I'm not scared of Hurst. I'm not scared of Mixon. Even if Mixon has a great day, it doesn't scare me that they win the game. It is about Chase and Boyd to me. Am I wrong? Or Chase and Higgins, I'm sorry.
I think a little bit. You can get a little blindsided with the passing weapons, because I do think that, again, Joe Mixon, while I don't think he's an elite top-tier talent, their run game is really good. And if they continue to churn out first downs, they just go down and score a touchdown because you don't pay much attention to it. That's just as big of a problem as trying to make sure Jamar Chase doesn't beat you. They have to be level-headed in the run game against the Bengals. They're going to have to take it. Even down 3 offensive linemen in this game, they moved the Bills up front. They could not stop the run. They have to come prepared, or they're going to get run on, and that's what's going to set up all the play action and all the deep shots down the field. If you want to stop Chase and Higgins from getting downfield, it starts a little bit with the run game. That's where they want to set up their deep passes. Otherwise, you have to rally and tackle with the short stuff, because other than that, I mean, you have to make them more one-dimensional, because then it's going back to last year where they couldn't run the football and they had to have some big plays down the field. I think their corners are better than they were last year, the Chiefs, and that plays a little bit into what they want to make them one-dimensional, throw some blitzes and some different looks at Joe Burrow, hope you get a free man, hope you get a hand on a football.
Yeah. I mean, and it's better to force the issue than it is to lay back. At the end of the day, Spags wants to blitz. He's good at designing the blitz. They rallied to the ball and the ball carrier really well last week. They can do that again. I do feel like if they can get the jump, I think they can grind it out. I don't feel this is a they get out to a lead and then try to sustain it. I think this is a back and forth slugfest until somebody steps up. And I'll talk about it later in the week. I'll look at some of the film from both the most important game that I think we've seen against the Bengals in the last month, as well as the first Chiefs meeting. But thank you for putting this up there, Tyler. Evidently, Jay Glazer did confirm that everything's clear on the MRI. And that's good because the MRI can give you soft tissue injuries that will contribute to an elongated process, lack of range of motion, all the things that can control, especially an ankle flexion for this particular quarterback. That is key because of the platforms that he throws and doesn't throw from. So thanks for that, Tyler. I appreciate it. And surprised it opened at -3 for KC. It was down to -1 in 20 minutes. Wow. Interesting. Okay. That's good to know. The big thing for me, and we're not going to belabor this tonight. We'll look at it more in the week. It comes down to what have the Bengals done in every contest in the last 3 meetings that they've won? In my opinion, it's bottom line, they've out-physicaled this Chiefs roster every single time in the trenches, at the wide receiver spot, at virtually everywhere on the offense. They've been more physical. And so it's the challenge to me is for the Chiefs defensive front to bow up, and these long, tall corners you went out to stop this team. Now that they're not rookies anymore, and I do like that concept. I agree. 17, now 18 games in, these rookies aren't rookies anymore. Can you stop these 3 receivers in particular?
It's what it is. I mean, you can't lose the turnover battle again either. They can't be turning the football over. You got to find ways to maybe get a couple from the Bengals. They don't turn the ball over very much, so you got to find ways to do that. And for me, this comes down to the offensive line. Orlando Brown has gotten worked over by Trey Hendrickson in every single game. You want to be paid? All right, right now. Right now is how you make your money. Right now. You play well in this game. You protect Patrick, who's on a bum ankle. You'll make your money. Promise you right now. You will make your money if you prove in the biggest game of the season, coming off 3 consecutive losses to the team that has beaten you, and you've gotten worked over by the same guy every single time. Prove it right now, Orlando. Prove it right now.
This is perfect, and you all know I'm from the Kansas side, but this is a Missouri moment. Orlando, show me. Show me you can be that guy right now. And maybe we'll have you back. Maybe we won't tag you. I don't know. We'll see. But Aaron, that's the big thing from the Bengals-Ravens game, and I'm glad you brought it up that way because that's the thing is the Ravens play them tough because they physical them on the other side, and that's what it comes down to. You got 8 quarters, and at this point, I'm not trying to be disrespectful of Jalen Hurts, a guy that I've backed since the day he came out, since the day he left Alabama, to tell you the truth. I'm not as scared of them and Travis's brother as I am of the Bengals. I think the matchups are tougher for this team against the Bengals. You win this and you are diligent, you can win this championship. That's the way I see it.
Okay. I'm a little more scared of the Eagles personally.
Okay.
But I think Joe Burrow is much better than Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts brings a different dynamic that the Chiefs haven't faced this season. So it's a little different. I know they played him last year, but Jalen's playing much better this year. And he's got A.J. Brown, and everything's really working for them right now. But I want to see, like you said, the physicality part. I want to see it at the corners. Give me a few holding penalties early. I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to see a little fire, a little get in the face of these corners or these wide receivers. I want to see Josh Williams or Jalen Watson in the face of T. Higgins. I want to see it. You have to show them you're there to play. Because if you get back down or they dunk on you one of these times, guess what? They're going to keep going at it, and they're going to keep putting you in your place. If you come in, maybe you get there a little bit early, or you get a little hold on them before it's in completion. Let them know you're there. Okay, let them know.
That's what it's for.
I'm not going away. Okay, I'm here. That's what you have to do.
And that's the big thing is if you can do that, especially early in the route, that allows Chris and Noddy and Saunders and GK and Dana to get to Burrow and move him. They don't have to put him on the ground. I hope that they do, but he's a tough son of a. He's just so tough
slippery.
SOB. He's so been slippery. Put on the ground. I know, and even when he gets put on the ground, he shakes his ass off and gets back in there, and it doesn't bother him. So
No.
it's about disrupting his throwing ability and the path to the receiver. So by being that physical, even if you do get beat a couple times, what Jalen Watson's shown, what Josh Williams has shown, certainly McDuffie and Snead, as long as you have those guys, you have the length and the physicality to stop that team enough to let the defensive front get home.
That's it. And I don't remember if Tony played against the Bengals. I know McCole Hardman didn't this year. So we're talking about the offense could look a little different this time around too. So
Tony did have that hopping touchdown against the Bengals.
No, that was against the that wasn't the Bengals. No, I thought
it was.
I don't think Tony played against the Bengals. So yeah, it was it might look a little different in Kansas City this time around. And honestly, the fans, y'all, if you're going to be there, they got to show up. Yep. This has to be the loudest game since they set the record. It has to. It's got to feel like that. I don't know if it felt like that against the Jags. I wasn't there. I don't know. But this is a different matchup, and they need to beat the Bengals. So let's see what you guys got.
Bottom line. Kyle, thank you for this one and the support. Appreciate your concern here, buddy. Are you concerned about the Bengals tackle of going for the strip rather than the tackle? Seems like they do it more than most defenses. No, I love it.
So they really are. They're actually really good about doing it when they have guys wrapped up. Like they all rally and then strip. It's not just one guy trying to do it while he's trying to tackle somebody. They're very well coached. They have someone wrapped up. That's when you see them actually go for the football and try to rip it out. That's how, Travis got his. He was wrapped up trying to move forward and just it popped out. A couple of times you saw that against the Bills where they have a bunch of guys there and they try to pop out. Maybe they get a little aggressive. You get maybe somebody one-on-one and they try to do it and you get lucky and you get bounce off. I don't think it's going to happen personally. I think they're really well-coached defense.
I hope that somebody gets greedy. I hope that somebody gets over aggressive. Like you say, it's one thing to use that tactic when you have the guy confined. If they go for it too early, it just allows some opportunity to break tackles and make chunk plays. And I'm here for that. Thank you guys. It was Jags.
That's right.
I appreciate the correction. Tatum, thank you, sir. You're going to be our last question of the night, and then I'm going to go do the Locked On Chiefs show. You guys can check that out later tonight as well. Will we see more power run scheme with a mix of a little zone next weekend? Do you think that's worth it, knowing that they don't practice it a lot so far, but they could this week?
I think that we've seen a little bit. We saw a little bit this last week with the pullers and some power. I think that getting out to the game, start to the game a little bit more power heavy to let the offensive line hit some guys and look to establish a little bit might help just an overall effort of what they need to establish for the game. I don't know if Andy Reid's going to do that because I for whatever reason, believe that Isaiah Pacheco is a zone runner. He's not. He is a power scheme runner. He needs some space to work. That's just a fact. But they apparently are really stubborn about their running backs and want to continue to do things with them that they aren't really all that successful with. So we'll see.
Let's hope that they can change that around. And I think I want to see Pacheco take what he did last week, which was obviously a mixed bag, but maybe one of his better performances. He's starting to see what he can do and double down on that, like become the next guy. Because if you are able to take what they have, their running backs have had success against the Bengals. And one guy that just from my memory, I want to see them attack Pratt. That's what I want to see because he made a couple of plays last time. I believe he's the guy that ripped the ball from Travis Kelce. And I want to see them go at him. There are a lot of defenders that can make plays on the chase down with pursuit, being opportunistic from angles, run straight down his throat and see what he can do because that's usually the way to take away a good player. So that's what I'm looking for.
I would love to, again, I talked about some space. Isaiah Pacheco's explosive in space. I think that will be another key to this football game is finding a way to get him in space, whether that's going to be the power game, whether we're going to see some pitches, something a little different to get him the ball and use his acceleration, because that's one thing I do think that the Bengals don't have a ton of at the linebacker and second and defensive line is a ton of team speed. I know that they have some good athletes at linebacker, but I don't know they can run down Isaiah Pacheco on an angle. I don't think they can do that. So I'd like to see them get some of that running as well.
Yeah. I'm down. Thank you, Tatum. Appreciate you and appreciate all you guys. If you do want to get all the extras and get in the Discord with all of our members, join the memberships today. It's down there underneath Dan, or you can hit that link. It will be in the show notes as well. And then you can get to connect your YouTube channel, your ID to your Discord ID, and boom, you're in like Flynn. Lot to go over here tonight. We're going to do Q&A tomorrow night like we always do. We're going to get into the film. We're going to get into the stats, and we're going to devise the plan. Do not miss the game plan this week, because we're going to tell you how they can get it done. If you haven't been seeing those, Gary's got all the stats that we need to know for that game. It's a nice little package on Friday afternoons that will get you ready. Thank you. You guys have a good night. Dan, thanks for staying up late, especially with the little miss running around.
Always, man. We got to keep everyone up to date on what's going on.
Absolutely. You guys have a great Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.